Imagine this. You open your eyes. The sunlight is pouring through the blinds. You slept 8 hours, maybe even 9. There's no alarm, no deadline, no immediate crisis, and yet your body feels like it's been dragging chains through wet cement. Your mind, foggy, unmotivated, numb. You reach for coffee, not because you want it, but because without it, you're barely functional. The day hasn't begun, but already it feels like a burden. Now imagine this happens every day. You do what you're told. You take your vitamins, you meditate sometimes, you read those self-help posts that say, take a walk, hydrate, journal your gratitude. You do it all, or at least enough of it to make you wonder, why am I still so tired? Not the tired that a nap could solve, not the tired that a vacation could cure, the other kind. The kind that lives beneath your skin, that watches from behind your eyes, that makes everything feel 2 shades dimmer than it should. And here's the strangest part. You're not alone. All around you, people shuffle through life like sleepwalkers. Bodies present, souls disconnected. Everyone is busy, yet no one seems truly alive. They joke about being tired all the time, like it's just part of adulthood. They normalize it, wear it like a badge. Just another day in the grind. But look closer. Look deeper. There's something darker pulsing beneath the surface. What if the exhaustion you're feeling has nothing to do with sleep? What if it isn't about physical fatigue at all? What if your body is fine, but your being is not? They never told you that you could be tired because your life is tired, because your truth is buried, because every day you suppress 1,000 tiny rebellions inside yourself. You sit through meetings you don't care about. You smile at people you don't trust. You scroll through feeds filled with lives you don't envy but still compare yourself to. You chase goals you never chose for yourself. Built from someone else's definition of success, and somewhere deep inside, your soul begins to whisper, "This is not what I came here for." But you silence it with caffeine, with noise, with busyness, with mindless stimulation. And in that silence grows the real fatigue, the kind that pills can't fix and doctors can't diagnose. The fatigue of an unlived life, of an inner world abandoned. Have you ever wondered, what is the cost of pretending every day? What is the toll of never asking, why am I doing this? What happens to a soul that's been quieted for years, even decades? They told you burnout is about overwork. They told you it's about poor habits. But what if burnout is just a symptom of a deeper betrayal? A betrayal of your inner voice, your authentic desires, your forgotten self. You're not just physically tired, you're existentially exhausted. And here's the brutal irony: the more disconnected you become, the more exhausted you feel. But the more exhausted you feel, the less strength you have to reconnect. So you keep going, you fake energy, you wear performance like armor. You become so used to pretending that you forget what real aliveness ever felt like. And then, in rare moments of silence, right before sleep or during long drives or in sudden moments of stillness, you feel it. A weight behind your eyes, a heaviness in your chest, a soft scream muffled under years of noise and obligation. I don't want this. But what is this? What exactly is it that you no longer want? but keep choosing anyway. What invisible force keeps you in this loop of numbness and exhaustion? Who benefits from your disconnection, and why do you let them? What if the fatigue isn't a failure of your biology, but a warning from your soul? The answers aren't easy. They will not be found in energy drinks, biohacks, or even in the soft encouragements of modern wellness culture. To uncover the real reason you're always tired, we must go deeper into the roots of the psyche, into the forgotten chambers of the self, and into the structures of a society that thrives on your disconnection. The path ahead isn't about getting more rest. It's about remembering what you were before you were exhausted, and confronting the terrifying possibility that the life you've built is what's draining you. Let's go there, because until you see the truth, you'll keep trying to fix the symptom and never cure the source. You were never meant to live like this. Not in sterile office boxes under fluorescent lights, not glued to screens that steal your focus and sell your attention, not in a world where your worth is measured by how productive, obedient, or pleasant you can be. This isn't just personal, it's structural, and it goes deeper than time management, lifestyle choices, or even trauma. The real reason you're always tired is because the life you are forced to live is profoundly misaligned with the architecture of your soul. Carl Jung called it inauthenticity. The slow erosion of the self when you adapt to survive in a world that doesn't care who you truly are. Friedrich Nietzsche described modern life as the great taming of man, a process where raw, instinctive individuals are broken into quiet, compliant fragments of themselves. Arthur Schopenhauer, even more cynically, believed human striving itself was the cause of suffering, that desire is an endless fire that burns away contentment, and yet, here you are, chained to expectations that were never yours, trapped in loops that reward conformity but drain your soul, hungry for something real, but surrounded by illusions. Let's peel back the first layer. From the moment you're born, you're taught who to be. Before you even understand language, the shaping begins. Be a good boy. Be a nice girl. Don't cry. Don't shout. Don't question. Fit in, please others, get good grades, smile on command. This isn't parenting, it's programming. It creates a false self, a persona, a mask. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But few ever do. Most people remain trapped in the persona, and the longer you wear the mask, the more exhausting it becomes, not because it's heavy, but because it blocks your essence. And maintaining something false is infinitely more draining than living something real. This is the hidden fatigue, the soul's quiet rebellion. Let's go deeper. Your body isn't just flesh, it's memory. It stores every time you silenced yourself to avoid conflict, every time you stayed in a room that felt wrong, every time you said yes when your whole being was screaming no. That exhaustion you feel isn't just from lack of sleep. It's the compounded weight of spiritual self-abandonment. You see, tiredness isn't just physical depletion, it's energetic misalignment. When you live in conflict with your own values, your body knows. When you work a job that suffocates you, your nervous system protests. When your relationships lack honesty, your vitality drains. When your life lacks meaning, your soul withers. Now, let's pull philosophy into the room. Jean-Paul Sartre said that freedom is terrifying, and so most people run from it. We choose the cage because the cage is familiar. Responsibility for our own lives is too overwhelming, so we settle for a scripted identity, a life dictated by algorithms, a path of least resistance. But here's the paradox. Running from freedom makes you more tired than embracing it. You think structure will save you, but when that structure is fake, it enslaves you. You think following the rules will keep you safe, but they were never your rules to begin with. And what about Aldous Huxley? He warned of a society where people would be conditioned to love their servitude, where entertainment becomes a drug, where truth becomes irrelevant, where pleasure becomes pacification. That's not fiction. That's now. And when the soul realizes it's been tricked into a prison decorated with dopamine and convenience, it begins to decay slowly, quietly. You scroll for hours, not because you're lazy, but because your nervous system is seeking an escape from a life that doesn't nourish you. You binge shows not because you're addicted to story, but because you're starving for emotion, connection, something real. You procrastinate not because you're undisciplined, but because some part of you knows what you're doing doesn't matter. This is the inner rebellion of the psyche. The fatigue isn't a flaw, it's a message. Your body is trying to tell you this is not the path. But society doesn't want you to listen. Because tired people don't rebel. Numb people don't question. Distracted people don't wake up. So it gaslights you. It says, you just need better habits. It sells you morning routines like salvation. It tells you burnout is a personal failure. But what if your burnout is a sane response to an insane world? Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz, said this: an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is normal behavior. Read that again. Feeling exhausted, anxious, disoriented, or numb may not be proof that something is wrong with you. It may be proof that something is wrong with the world you've been forced to adapt to. And when the environment is spiritually toxic, wellness strategies are like trying to meditate your way out of a house fire. You don't need more discipline. You don't need another productivity hack. You need truth. You need to face the architecture of your life, your values, your reality, and ask, whose life am I living? Because the answer to that question might be the very reason you wake up tired, even after the best night's sleep. And if that's true, if the life you're living is exhausting you, what happens when you keep pushing forward anyway? What happens when the soul is ignored for too long? What are the silent consequences of this connection? That's where we go next. There's a cost to pretending everything is fine. You may not see it at first, you may not feel it immediately, but beneath the surface, the damage is happening, slowly, quietly, invisibly. The soul, when ignored, doesn't scream, it withdraws. Your energy fades, your spark dulls. Your appetite for life collapses into a numb tolerance for survival. And you tell yourself, this is just what adulthood feels like. You tell yourself, everyone feels this way. You normalize what should never be normal. But here's the truth. This isn't just tiredness. This is existential decay. Your brain is the most adaptive organ you have. It rewires itself constantly in response to your environment, your thoughts, your habits. It's not just reacting, it's becoming. And if you live in a state of chronic disconnection from truth, purpose, emotion, authenticity, your brain adapts to that. Neural pathways that once lit up with curiosity, wonder, joy, ambition, they go dim. Instead, you strengthen the circuits of stress, autopilot, emotional suppression. This isn't burnout. It's neuroplastic collapse. You become less yourself over time, not because something was taken from you, but because what you once were has been neglected into extinction. Let's talk about identity. Every time you betray your own values to meet someone else's expectations, every time you censor your truth to avoid rejection, every time you deny your needs in order to be liked, seen, or safe, you chip away at your center, and eventually you forget who you were before the masks. You become a stranger to your own reflection. You feel hollow, but don't know why. Because you haven't lost energy, you've lost alignment. You're not just tired, you're misaligned with your inner compass. And the longer this continues, the more twisted it becomes. You fear rest because it reveals your emptiness. You avoid silence because it confronts your truth. You stay busy because stillness feels like death. But what's actually dying is the illusion. Modern culture encourages this slow collapse. It tells you to hustle, but never to question. It rewards appearance over substance. It praises being resilient, even if what you're enduring is killing you. You are taught to cope, not to confront, to endure, not to evolve, to survive, not to wake up. And so the unseen consequence begins to crystallize. You become fully adapted to a life that you no longer consciously chose. Your desires are hijacked, your fears are engineered, your time is sold, and your attention, your most sacred currency, is auctioned to the highest bidder. This is not just fatigue, this is soul erosion in real time. Let's go even deeper. Have you noticed how hard it is to feel lately? Like really feel, not stimulation, not distraction, not momentary highs, but real, soul-level emotion. Joy that overwhelms, sadness that cleanses, anger that liberates, wonder that silences the mind. Modern life doesn't support these things. It numbs you. It flattens your emotional spectrum into safe, manageable pixels on a screen. But the human psyche was not made for safety alone. It was made to experience, to suffer, yes, but also to soar, to risk, to wrestle, to evolve. When you dull your emotions to survive the grind, you also dull your aliveness. And what happens next? Disorders, dysfunctions, diagnoses, anxiety, depression, ADHD, insomnia, emotional detachment. But what if these aren't illnesses in the way we've been told? What if they're signals, messengers from a part of you that refuses to die quietly? Gabor Maté said it best: the attempt to escape from pain is what creates more pain. Your exhaustion is a message not from your body, but from your soul. And that message is simple: something has to change. But here's the trap: instead of change, we seek comfort. Instead of truth, we seek relief. Instead of transformation, we seek distraction, because distraction is painless. But it's also poison. Every time you scroll past your discomfort, you feed the exhaustion. Every time you pretend to be fine, you deepen the fracture. Every time you ignore the quiet voice inside, you amplify the tiredness that no amount of sleep will heal. And here's the brutal paradox. The longer you ignore your soul, the harder it is to remember what it even wanted. Eventually, the cost becomes visible. You lose the ability to be present. You feel disconnected in your relationships. You can't remember the last time you felt fully alive. You become a shadow of yourself, functional but hollow. This is what happens when fatigue becomes your baseline. Not because your schedule is too full, but because your life is too empty of meaning. And meaning is the one thing your biology, your spirit, your nervous system can't survive without. Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, but when the why is missing, even the smallest how becomes unbearable." And now you understand. The exhaustion isn't random. It's not weakness. It's not personal failure. It's the soul's final attempt to get your attention, to whisper through the fog and the fatigue, "You were made for something more than this." But you have to choose it. So how do you choose it? How do you rebel against everything that has kept you in this state? How do you rebuild your life from something real, not manufactured? The answers won't be easy. They won't be comfortable, but they will be true. Let's begin the rebellion. You don't break free by running away. You break free by remembering who you were before you forgot, before the world told you who to be, before your truth was labeled too much, before your aliveness was traded for acceptance. This rebellion doesn't begin with action. It begins with awareness. And awareness, when fully embraced, is the most dangerous force in the world, because it wakes you up. And a person who has truly awakened becomes ungovernable. The first step is radical self-honesty, not the curated version of honesty you share on social media, not the kind that sounds poetic but keeps your patterns alive. Real honesty, brutal honesty, the kind that makes your stomach sink. Ask yourself, what part of my life feels fake? Where am I lying to myself? If nothing changes, what does the next decade of my life look like? Don't run from the answers. Sit with them. Because discomfort is not the enemy. Numbness is. The second step is to reclaim your attention. Modern society is an attention economy. Every app, every ad, every algorithm is designed to fracture your focus and steal your presence. And every moment you give away your attention to meaningless noise, you deepen your exhaustion. You can't feel alive when your attention is constantly outsourced. So reclaim it. Turn your phone off, for real. Not just on silent. Create spaces of silence. No input, no stimulation, just you and your thoughts. Spend time with your discomfort instead of sedating it. Why? Because in silence, the truth returns. The voice you've buried under notifications and schedules begins to rise again. And at first, it may sound like sadness, or rage, or fear. Good. Those emotions are not your enemies. They are your compass. They point to what matters, to where the wound is, to where the healing must begin. The third step, redefine success. This world teaches you to chase outcomes, money, titles, metrics, validation. But these things mean nothing if they cost you your soul. Carl Jung warned us that modern man suffers from a loss of meaning far more than a lack of pleasure or comfort. So redefine what success means for you. Not what your parents wanted, not what the culture praises, not what looks good on a resume. Ask, what does a successful day feel like, not look like? Where do I feel most alive, most myself, most aligned? Then build your life around that, even if it means earning less, even if it means walking away from something prestigious, even if no one understands you at first. Your vitality is the only proof of real success. Now, let's get radical. The fourth step is strategic withdrawal. You don't need to escape society, but you do need to stop letting it own you. This means you must begin to say no to obligations that drain you. Walk away from people who dull your spirit. Disconnect from media that conditions you to self-doubt. Abandon roles you were never meant to play. This will feel like rebellion, because it is. You were trained to be agreeable, to be nice, to be liked, to not make waves. But waves are necessary. Storms are necessary. You cannot build a new self inside the cage of the old one. Withdraw, not in bitterness, but in clarity, so you can finally hear yourself. And then finally, create. Not for attention, not for profit, not for validation. Create because it is your nature. To speak, to write, to build, to shape, to take the pain and turn it into poetry, to take the fatigue and turn it into fire. Creation is rebellion. In a world that wants you passive, reactive, and exhausted, creation is the ultimate act of defiance. Build rituals instead of routines. Craft your days like a poem, not a to-do list. Make meaning, not just progress. And in this process, you will find something miraculous. Your energy returns, not all at once, not like flipping a switch, but like sunrise through fog, slow, quiet, unstoppable. You'll begin to feel it in your voice, steadier and clearer, in your chest, lighter, in your eyes. That old fire beginning to spark again, not because life got easier, but because you got real. You stopped running. You faced the void. You reclaimed yourself. Look at history. The most powerful awakenings come from those who were tired of being tired. The mystics, the poets, the rebels. They didn't escape fatigue by becoming more efficient. They shattered the illusion and built something real from its ashes. You are allowed to do the same. You are allowed to stop pretending. You are allowed to feel lost, then redefine the map. You are allowed to burn down a false life to build an honest one. And yes, it will cost you comfort, familiarity, approval. But what you gain is beyond measure. Your vitality, your clarity, and once you taste truth, fatigue becomes irrelevant. Because no one is tired when they're on fire with purpose. So now you know how to rebel. But what is the ultimate truth behind all of this? What lies at the heart of your exhaustion? Beneath every layer of numbness, denial, and disconnection. Let's go there. Let's finish this journey. You've peeled back the layers, the masks, the noise, the lies you told yourself just to survive another day. You've looked into the fatigue, not as a flaw, but as a signal. You've touched the edges of truth. You've seen the cost of living a life not meant for you. Now it's time to face what lies beneath it all. Not a solution, not a strategy, but a revelation. A truth so fundamental, so raw, so obvious, that it's almost unbearable. You're always tired because you've never truly chosen your life. Let that sink in. You didn't choose your beliefs, they were passed down. You didn't choose your pace, it was imposed on you. You didn't choose your values, they were marketed to you. You didn't choose your story, you inherited it, written in the language of survival, not truth. You've been living someone else's idea of life, and your soul has known this the entire time. It's been screaming in whispers, aching in silence, weeping behind your eyes every time you pushed forward on a path that didn't feel like yours. The fatigue was a form of protest. But here's the most beautiful, terrifying truth. You can choose again, and not just small things, what to eat, where to work, who to follow. You can choose the foundation, the philosophy, the story you live inside of. Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the eternal recurrence, the idea that your life will repeat over and over, infinitely. He asked, if you had to live your life again, just as it is, for eternity, would you love it? Would you choose it? Most people wouldn't. And that is where the sickness begins, not in the body, but in the soul's quiet no. So the question becomes, how do I live a life I would be willing to repeat forever? And here's the answer. Not soft, but true. You must live deliberately. Every choice must pass through the fire of awareness. Every action must answer to your deepest yes. Not the yes of fear, not the yes of convenience, the yes of alignment. This is not easy. This is not clean. It will mean letting go of identities that earned you love. It will mean disappointing people who benefited from your obedience. It will mean becoming a stranger to a world that only knew you as a mask. But the reward is unspeakable, because on the other side of that collapse is clarity. You begin to feel again. Your tiredness shifts. Not gone entirely, but now it's the tiredness of living on your own terms. The tiredness that comes after creation, not before it. The tiredness of someone who is finally moving towards something real. You see, energy doesn't just come from sleep. It comes from alignment, from truth, from choosing your life every single day like it's an act of revolution. That's exactly what it is. To live consciously in an unconscious world. To live awake in a culture built on sedation. To live with soul in a system that profits from your numbness. That is rebellion. That is sacred. That is freedom. There's one final truth, the deepest one. And it may scare you, but it's also the one that will liberate you. No one is coming to save you. Not the next job. Not the perfect partner, not the therapist, coach, or influencer, not the next book, course, or aha moment. And strangely, this is the most empowering truth of all. Because once you stop waiting to be rescued, you begin to rescue yourself. You stop outsourcing your authority. You stop deferring your joy. You stop apologizing for your truth. And for the first time, you become the creator, not the survivor, the author, not the actor, the flame, not the echo. So what now? You wake up tomorrow, and everything may look the same. Same bed, same sky, same problems. But something inside you will be different. Because you've seen the truth. And once seen, it cannot be unseen. You'll begin to notice things. How people speak from their masks. How fatigue lives in their eyes. How many have chosen comfort over meaning. And you'll have a choice, not to save them, but to refuse to join them, to live honestly, to rest deeply, to feel fully, to walk with your shadow, not against it, to protect your energy like a sacred resource, to build a life that doesn't exhaust you, because it's yours. And when you forget again, because you will, remember this: fatigue is not failure. Fatigue is a message, and your soul will keep sending it until you finally answer. Now breathe. This is the beginning of the end, not of life, but of pretending. And what comes next is yours to create.